What's up, y'all? Welcome into Duval Daily. Out here on the porch, just got back from Jaguars Rookie Minicamp practice number 1, the only practice that will be available to the media of the practices this weekend. Next week, you're going to get kicked off into the rookies practicing with the veterans. We're going to get some access to that. Monday, May 20th, I think, is the next time media will be out there. So look forward to that. But obviously, rookie minicamp practice here today. Not a whole lot to glean, right? Practice was about an hour long. It was not full speed. There was no pads. There was no hitting. Not a lot to really take away from a practice like this. But you did have Doug Pederson meet with the media beforehand. You had assistant GM Ethan Waugh also talk to the media. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr. was out there. Jarvis Landry was out there. We're going to talk about all of it here today. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out ginjag.com/shop. Pick up some new Duval gear. Become a member of the channel here on YouTube. So, again, rookie minicamp practice number 1 is in the books. Doug Pederson, he met with the media, as I mentioned. He was asked about physicality. That was a point of emphasis for Trent Baalke when he talked to the media throughout the offseason. Doug Pederson was asked if the team got more physical, and he kind of chuckled and talked about how you don't really know. Like, did they get big, strong football players? Yes, he believes that, but he said this was a physical game. This is a game that's all about physicality, every single play. So, like, did we get more physical? I don't know. Can we teach these guys to be more physical? Can they be more physical? Yeah, but we don't really know, right? So, didn't really give a lot in that regard. And then he also said this weekend, which is definitely true, is more about testing their mental capacity of these young players versus really getting into it with the physicality of the game and the speed of the game and all that stuff. It's really just about testing. This is what we've taught you. Can you take it and bring it out on the practice field and not really skip a beat? And can you take the coaching and, improve, right? So that's kind of what this weekend is all about for these young rookies. Like I said, Brian Thomas Jr., he was out there. He looked very big, very fast. He's 6'3", 210. I don't think he looks like overwhelmingly physical from a muscle standpoint, right? He's not like this muscle bound guy. Like Seth Williams is the biggest receiver out there, and there's a few guys out there who were veterans that were participating. Jarvis Landry, one of them. Seth Williams, also one of them. A couple other guys, but yeah, like Seth Williams, that is a big 215, 220 pound type of receiver. Brian Thomas Jr., even though he is close to 210, he carries it a little differently, right? So this is a guy that his game is more about speed, is more about fluidity, and you saw those things out there today. I don't think he let a ball touch the ground. Obviously, they weren't even running routes against defenders, so it was all against air. But looked effortless catching the ball, looked effortless running routes, just looks like that natural sort of athlete that you really want at the position. And he and Jarvis Landry, they were connected to the hip throughout practice. Neither of them was doing anything on special teams. First-round picks don't really got to participate in special teams. And Jarvis Landry, a veteran who's basically here just for a tryout. Doug Pederson talked about that as well. That's all it is. They want to see where he's at physically. Missed all of 2023 with the ankle injury that he sustained in 2022. So that's what it is. It's a tryout. They're seeing how healthy he is, if he can potentially garner a spot on the 90-man roster. Because at this point, there's no insurance or assurance isn't, I should say, for Jarvis Landry that he's going to be here beyond rookie minicamp. It's just a tryout. I think that the questions about his speed at this point in his career are real. I don't think that this sort of practice really tells you anything about that. I will say, when it comes to his natural route running, his ball skills, he looks like he still has that, certainly. But I think it's going to be more telling if he does get invited to the 90-man roster or gets invited back to keep participating in practice with the Jaguars. Can he move that way against opposing defensive backs? Does he look like he's still got it? Does he look like he's still got the juice, his nickname, right? That's going to be the question for him. He still has the physical skills. He still has the ability to go up and get the football with one hand, track the football down the field, run crisp routes. But it's going to be all about, does he have the speed? Can he potentially be a backup special teamer, return guy for you? What type of value is he providing to the team other than what he can bring as a wide receiver? And does he have the speed to still threaten as a wide receiver? Obviously, he plays more from the slot. You have Christian Kirk in the slot already. You have Parker Washington, who's primarily a slot player as well, at least projects to be that way. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Jarvis Landry. But I think there's no question you really see what you saw on tape with Brian Thomas Jr. You see the athleticism. You see the speed, the fluidity. And Ethan Wall, he was asked about, was there anyone that they targeted in the draft, that they landed in the draft, that they really felt strongly about prior to the draft? And he talked about going to the combine and seeing Brian Thomas Jr., how impressive he was. Thomas Jr. was running a 4.3 340 at the combine, obviously. And the Jaguars, their team's suite at the combine, Ethan Wall shared this, was like diagonal across the field from where they were running 40-yard dashes. So Ethan Wall went down, got close to the starting line for the 40-yard dash. And he said that's one of those athletes where at his size, 6'3", 209 pounds, you could feel him getting out of the blocks. It was different. And he compared that to Vernon Davis and even Evan Ingram, two tight ends who were obviously bigger players, but there was just, you could feel the speed of them getting out of the blocks. He felt that with Brian Thomas Jr., and I think you could see it out there today. It looks like he's kind of gliding out there. It looks like he's levitating. He is a special athlete. I think he brings a rare physical skill set to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Phil Rauscher, Jaguars offensive line coach. This offensive line did not have their best year in 2023. Obviously, there was a lot of injuries, but it's always a treat being out there. And this was an indoor practice. There was obviously weather in the area today, but Phil Rauscher is such a fun coach. And today, he was only with two guys, right? He was with Javon Foster, the Jaguars' fourth-round pick out of Missouri, offensive tackle, and Stephen Jones, the 340-pounder out of Oregon. Those were the only two offensive linemen. So those were the only two guys he was working with, and he was really putting them through it, and he's a loud coach. He's going to coach you hard, and I think that they were taking well to it. You got some attaboys. You got some good jobs out of him, and I think that both of those guys look like they belong. The Jaguars, they thought they might target Stephen Jones late in the draft. They ended up getting him in undrafted free agency. But that's a player they really liked. And you can see why. I mean, for a 340-pounder, he moves well. And a guy that really was very impressive in pass protection. Just a guy difficult to get around when you're that big. Jarian Jones, you saw him out there flying around. He brings the energy. Absolutely. Always talking, always smiling, a very infectious personality. I wasn't really able to see much of Mason Smith or Jordan Jefferson, the two LSU defensive tackle prospects the Jaguars brought in. Mason Smith in the second round, Jordan Jefferson in the fourth round, because in the indoor practice facility, you're confined to like a smaller part of the field than you normally would be. And so I just couldn't really see them. I could see the offensive line. I could see quarterback, which there was only one quarterback out there today. Brennan Armstrong, who I think 5 years at Virginia, then finished at NC State. He's a lefty. He didn't look bad, by the way. You've seen some rookie minicamp quarterbacks go out there and not look like they belong at all, and I don't think that was the case for Brennan Armstrong today. But, I thought Jarian Jones looked really good from what I could see from him in terms of the energy, the speed. DeAndre Prince brings a lot of speed to the field as well. If you want to talk about a receiver other than Brian Thomas Jr., the one that I've had the most expectations on this whole time, I thought looked the best, Joshua Cephas out of UTSA. He's 6'3", 190. He can run. He's a good route runner, has natural hands. So that's someone to continue to keep an eye on. Talking about Cam Little, the kicker, he's young. He looks like he could still be on the varsity football team in high school. Not a big guy, has that baby face a little bit, but he brings a lot of energy, and he has a very big leg. You saw him knocking him through a little bit from pretty deep there, and getting some work on kickoff drills as well. One more note, Ventrell Miller, Cooper Hodges, and Christian Braswell, I think they probably would have participated in this, but they're still technically on injured reserve. And so there's some rules about guys being on injured reserve not being able to participate in rookie minicamp. They have been participating in phase 2 of, voluntary work for the Jaguars. So they are healthy, so to speak, and on the right track to be able to contribute in year 2, coming off of seasons in year 1 as rookies where they really weren't able to do anything because of injuries. So it'll be interesting to see those guys once the veteran part of this whole thing gets kicked off and we're allowed to go see them out there. So that'll pretty much do it here.